Please like this video. It will really help this story reach as many people as possible. Thank you so much for your support. I came home from a long Thursday and found my wife in a red dress that didn't belong to coffee. Hair done, heels on, spray of something expensive in the air. Purse in one hand, phone in the other. She didn't even look up from the mirror by the door. Going out? I asked, dropping my keys in the bowl. Coffee with Leah. She chirped, fluffing a curl. Girls' night in that. I stepped closer, took in the new lipstick. That's not a coffee dress. She rolled her eyes. Relax. It's daytime. It's 6:30 and you don't need a club dress to sip a latte. She snorted. Move to the door. You're not my wardrobe manager. I blocked the handle with 2 fingers. You want to go for coffee? Go dressed for coffee. If you're walking out to spin me up, pick a different hobby. Jenna's smile thinned. You're overreacting or I'm reacting exactly enough. I let go of the handle. Change or stay home. I'm not your audience. She made a face, grabbed the handle anyway. You can't tell me what to wear. I'm telling you what I accept in a marriage with my name on the mortgage. She opened the door, tossed over her shoulder, then closed your eyes, and breathed out to the driveway. I watched her go in that red dress and told myself to breathe. If I'd known where that would head, I would have turned and walked out into a different life right then. I texted Leah, heads up. Not a fan of the outfit for coffee. Leah sent back a shrug emoji and don't be controlling. I cooked myself eggs, dumped them uneaten, and sat at the kitchen table staring at the clock. At 10 o'clock, Jenna came back smelling like bars, not beans. She floated past me. How was coffee? I asked. She kicked off a heel. Delicious barista. Get a nice view. She didn't slow. Only if he had eyes. Good. Pack it away. Tomorrow I'm changing a few things. Like what? She called from the hallway. You'll hear it when I'm calm. Go wash off the act. She laughed and turned on the shower. I took out a notebook and started my list. The next morning, I set coffee on the island and waited for her to wander in wearing my college sweatshirt like nothing happened. Ground rules. I started. You want a marriage? You treat it like one. Don't start, she groaned, reaching for a mug. I pushed it toward me instead. Listen, I'm done chasing. I'll provide the basics. Roof, bills, groceries. Everything else requires respect. No more girls' nights that look like auditions. No more coy stories about late returns. If you need fun, find it with me. If not, remove my name from your plan. She blinked, then laughed. You're making rules now. I'm announcing my schedule tonight. I'll be at the gym and then at Nate's shop. You want dinner with me? It's Tuesday and Saturday at home. Phone's down. If you show up in costume to trigger me, I'll go for a drive and you'll eat alone. And I'm separating the checking accounts today. Joint covers the house. The rest is mine until I see partnership, not theater. You're punishing me. She leaned on the counter, cocked her head. I'm protecting my time and money. You don't work. That's not a jab. That's context. You live on what I bring home. With that comes a minimum of respect. I'm not a vending machine with a ring. She folded her arms. You're ridiculous. Maybe, but it's in place. She stared at me for a long beat, then softened her voice. Mark, you're making a big deal out of one dress. That was a symptom. The diagnosis is a steady stream of digs and games. The cure is boundaries. Her lips pressed. Fine. Can we not fight today? I'll make dinner. She stepped around, touched my forearm. Your favorite. I'll be home at 8. If you're home at 8, we'll eat. She nodded, eyes shiny, and for a second, I thought maybe she heard me. That night, she had candles going and salmon on the table. She set a plate in front of me and kissed my cheek like the wife from a commercial. This looks good, I said. I can hear you. When you talk like a human, she replied. See, we can be normal. Normal's easy. Respect's the ask. I tapped my fork. You on board? She lifted a shoulder. Sure, Mark. It was a soft landing. I took the bite, but I didn't forget the parachute. Mid-meal, her phone lit up. Leah, patio at Ali's. Jenna flipped it face down and smiled. Not tonight. Good, I said, and we ate in peace. 2 days later, the soft edges vanished. Jenna swung by Nate's garage while I was helping him move a compressor. She wore leggings and that loose sweatshirt again. Hair in a ponytail. Friendly smile. Hey boys, she chirped. I brought donuts. Nate, my old friend with sarcasm for breakfast. Lifted a brow. Now that's suspicious. She passed the box, denied me. Can we talk? 5 minutes. I wiped my hands on a rag and led her outside to the alley. The cold cut straight through me. What's up? She tucked hair behind her ear. I felt bad about the other night. I get carried away with Leah. You were right. That's a rare sentence. She smirked. Don't let it go to your head. Then she slipped her hand into my jacket like we were teenagers. I miss us. Maybe we could go out somewhere Saturday. Somewhere nice. Saturday's already blocked. Kyle's birthday. We're at Fraser's at 7. You're welcome to sit with me or take your own car. No costume party. She pouted. So I can't dress up at all. Dress up for me, not for attention harvesting. There's a difference. She looked hurt but nodded. Okay, I'll dial it in. I studied her. Why the donuts? Gesture. She smiled sweetly. I'm trying. Good. Keep trying. She kissed my cheek and left. Nate wandered out and bumped my shoulder. You buying that? I'm acknowledging it. That's all. Your funeral? He said, but he was grinning. At home later, Jenna was affectionate in small, acceptable ways. She asked about my day. She folded laundry without a speech about invisible labor. She curled up next to me while I checked the game. It was civilized. I breathed. Then Thursday night, she came out of the bedroom in a silver top and a pencil skirt, hair curled. Not the red dress. Not coffee casual either. Where to? I asked. Leah is having a rough time, she said. We're grabbing tea in sequins. It's not sequins. It reflects light like a road flare. She scoffed. It's a shirt. Curfew's 11. I said we leave for work early. Since when do I have a curfew? Since we agreed to respect my schedule. We didn't agree. You announced semantics. She waved a hand. I'll be back when I'm back. Then don't expect me to leave a light on. I picked up my jacket. I'm taking my laptop to the office. Lock up. She tilted her head. You're running away because I'm pretty. I'm sidestepping a setup. If you come back at midnight smelling like strangers and sarcasm, I won't be present to applaud. She laughed, walked past me, and I let the door close behind me. At the office, I crushed emails until 11:30, came home to darkness, and slept in the guest room with the door locked. In the morning, she found me making eggs. You slept in there? She asked, stung. I slept where I wasn't expected to perform forgiveness on command. You're dramatic. I'm consistent. She leaned on the island. Are you really going to police my clothes with Kyle's party coming up? I'm going to police my dignity. You play games there. I won't be your +1. I'll be your ride home only if you behave like my wife. She rolled her eyes. You're impossible, or I finally like myself. The night of Kyle's birthday, Jenna did her makeup carefully, but kept the dress simple. Navy knee length, clean lines. I gave her a nod. She watched me in the mirror. Better? She asked. Less like a dare, I answered. Good. I booked a ride share. That way, you can drink. I'll drive. I want control of my exit. She made a face. You always need control. I always need options. At Fraser's, the back room was packed. Carl hugged me like a linebacker. He's my oldest friend. Construction foreman. Mouth like a comedian. Heart like a pastor. Happy birthday, old man. I said, eat cake, Mark. He shot back. Jenna, behave. She laughed and slipped away to the bar with Leah. I joined the guys, Nate, our quiet buddy Sam, a couple of Kyle's coworkers I'd seen at tailgates. We ordered burgers and wings, told the old stories. For a while, it felt like a normal night. Then I saw Jenna at the bar leaning in toward a bartender half her age, her elbow on the counter. Her laugh turned up. I turned back to my table. Nate saw my face. Don't look. Not my first rodeo, I said. 15 minutes later, Leah appeared. Jin says, the fries here are burnt, she announced loud enough. Kyle smirked. They're fine. Leah smirked harder. She told the bartender he makes a better old-fashioned than your usual guy. Good for the bartender, Kyle said, not biting. I kept eating. Then, Jenna materialized beside me, draped an arm over my shoulder like a prop, and tapped my glass. You should try what Carlos made me, she said. It's strong but smooth. I'm driving. She pouted. Live a little. Respect the plan a little. She laughed and let her hand slide away. Then she was gone again. This time hovering near the waitstaff station with big eyes and bigger compliments. I pretended it didn't exist. Sam, who rarely speaks, finally murmured, she's busy. Yep. When the cake came out, Jenna wasn't at the table. Leah raised her phone to record Kyle's song and kept angling to frame Jenna in the background where she was laughing with the bartender again and touching his sleeve when she shouldn't have. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now, let's get back to the story. Eyes were going there. Eyes were also going to me. Nate leaned over. You going to check that? Not yet. I cut Kyle a slice, handed plates down the line, smiled when I needed to. Then Jenna came back, cheeks bright. These guys are hilarious. She announced to the table. I'll cut her off. We're hilarious. Sit down. She rolled her eyes. Don't be grumpy. It's your birthday and you're in my seat, he said. She went quiet, slid into the next chair, then turned to me even louder. Do you want me to ask the bartender for his number so you can calm down? Maybe he can teach you how to have fun. The table went still. I felt the heat of everyone's judgment on my skin. That was the point. She wanted the reaction, the chaos, the apology afterward. She wanted the cycle. I stood, tucked my chair in, and looked at her without a smile. Enough, I said. Cut the circus now. She blinked. Then her mouth twisted. Oh, please pick a seat next to me. I continued, voice flat. Behave like my wife or find your own ride home. She tilted her head, eyes glittering. Then she raised her voice for the room. Back off, she shouted. Stop ruining my night. Go bother someone else. The room heard it. Heads turned from the bar. The bartender froze with a shaker in hand. Kyle's jaw went hard. Nate's eyebrows shot up. The air snapped. I nodded once. Copy. I turned to Kyle. Happy birthday, brother. Sorry about the sideshow. Kyle grabbed my wrist. You good? I'm excellent. I looked around the table and meant it. Gentlemen, have a good night. Nate half stood. Want me to? Nope. I squeezed his shoulder. Then I walked out at an even pace, hands in my pockets, and didn't look back. On the drive home, I rehearsed nothing. I didn't slam a steering wheel or call anyone for advice. I unlocked the front door, pulled out 2 suitcases from the hall closet, and started folding her clothes with the precision of a move. If it looked cold, good. It needed to be. 2 hours later, the bags were lined up by the door. I took her key off the hook and put it in my pocket. Then I changed the locks. I cleaned the kitchen, turned on a game for noise, and waited. She showed up at a little after midnight. The new lock stopped her short. The handle rattled, a beat, knocking. Pounding. "Mark, open the door." I opened it on the chain. "We're done," I said. "Bags are here." She shoved the door, so the chain strained. "What is this consequences?" "You wanted a reaction. You got one." "Let me in," she demanded, too loud for the hour. "This is my home." "Not anymore." She went ballistic. "You're so dramatic. You think you're strong now? You think you can lock me out? Let me in." I unhooked the chain, picked up both suitcases, and set them on the porch. Then I stepped out, pulled the door behind me, and kept my voice bored. "All done at Fraser's." She crossed her arms. "Had a great time without you." "Awesome. Keep that energy for the curb." Her face twisted. "You're really doing this?" "Yep." She jabbed a finger toward the neighborhood. "The neighbors can hear. Then they'll know I value my sleep." She sneered. "So what now, tough guy? You played house sheriff. Now open the door." I laughed. "This isn't your house anymore. Don't disturb my evening. Go entertain someone else." I let that hang between us, then added, "Keep yelling and I'll call the cops for noise." "Your choice." I closed the door. She pummeled it for a minute, then went quiet. After a while, a car pulled up. She dragged her bags down the steps and left with her chin high like it was her idea. I went to bed and slept like a person who has finally decided. In the morning, I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, and filled out the initial paperwork for a dissolution through my company's benefits portal. No threats, no theater. I attached what I needed to attach, clicked submit, and sent the notice. Then I texted Kyle, filed, done. He replied with a thumbs up, and I'll handle the friend chatter. I drove to the ocean the day after. That was my gift to myself, not a running away, a clean change of air. I booked a small place near the boardwalk. The water was gray and loud and indifferent to my life. On day 2, I met Dana. She was on the patio of a beach grill finishing a fish taco, reading a paperback with the corners folded. Early 40s, smart eyes, no performance. I asked if the seat was free. She said, "If you can stand the wind." I sat. We talked. We kept talking. I didn't tell her my life story, and she didn't ask for it like a detective. We walked the boardwalk, got ice cream, watched teenagers crash into each other on rented bikes. That night, we faced the tide from 2 plastic chairs, and let silence do the work. The next afternoon, we rented kayaks and laughed when the wind pushed us sideways. She told me about her job with a nonprofit. I told her about Nate's shop and Kyle's jokes in the house I wasn't in. 3 days into this, my phone started going off. First, a text. "What is this? Papers? Are you serious?" Then another. "After everything, you blindsided me." 10 minutes later. "Call me now." I didn't. I set the phone face down. Dana glanced at it and then at me. "Need to grab that?" she asked. "No." We ordered grilled shrimp. The texts kept coming. Long, then short, then just question marks. That night, a voicemail, then 5. The next morning, a different tone. "Mark, we need to talk." I was upset. "I didn't mean to embarrass you. It was a dumb joke. We can fix this." I let it roll into the cloud. Day 5. She tried the parents' route. "I'm going to talk to your mom. She needs to know you're throwing away a marriage." I turned the phone off. Dana and I walked to a pier and watched a pelican dive like it knew what it was doing. I slept like the tide. Day 7. I picked up when the screen said unknown. Her voice came small, almost childlike. "Please. I didn't think you'd do it. I wanted to feel something from you. You used to try so hard. It made me feel like I mattered. That's all I wanted." The honesty would have worked 2 months earlier. I'd have thrown my dignity on the altar and called it love. Now it was just information. I hope you got your something. I answered. This is my decision. It stands. Don't call again. Mark, wait. Goodbye, Jenna. I ended the call, added her to the block list, and put the phone back in my pocket. Dana passed me a bottle of water without commentary. After a week on the coast, I drove back with a sunline on my nose and a settled spine. I pulled into my driveway and stood for a while just listening to the neighborhood hum. Mr. Carter next door was watering his lawn. He's retired, likes edgers and routine. He lifted a hand. You all right, Mark? Better than all right, I said. Good, he said. Your lady came by yesterday banging on that door like it owed her money. I almost called the boys in blue. I asked her not to do that. I figured inside the house felt different, quieter in a way that wasn't empty. I made a sandwich, sat at the table, and my phone lit up with a group text. The stories had started. Apparently, Leah had posted some nonsense about how Jenna had left me, that I'd been tight with money, that I'd been stepping out. That last part drew a hiss out of me. Not the word itself, the slander. Nate wrote, we were there. Kyle wrote, she's rewriting. Sam, whose texts come once a season, wrote, saw everything. You're fine. I typed nothing. I didn't have to. People who matter had eyes. Jenna tried to catch me twice the next week. Once outside my office, leaning on my car when I walked out at 5. She looked small. Please, she started. Just talk to me. I'm not having this conversation in a parking lot, I said. Keys in hand. Can we go somewhere? No, I unlocked the car. Just 5 minutes. Move, Jenna. I kept my voice even. You told me to go bother someone else. I did. You got what you asked for. She flinched. I didn't mean. I know what you meant. That's why this is done. I got in the car and pulled out while she stood there with her mouth open and her phone in her hand like a life preserver. The second time, she parked across from my place and waited on the curb. I saw her from the living room. I waited 10 minutes, then opened the door and walked down to the sidewalk. Go home, I told her. I don't have one, she said. I'm staying with Leah. That's a choice, not a condition. Can we at least keep it quiet? My parents are worried. Your parents are adults. They'll survive reality. She tried a soft voice. I made a mistake. I thought you needed a push. I wanted you to fight for me. I was fighting for us while you were cosplaying single. I tipped my head toward the street. You like the orbit. You lost the planet. That doesn't even make sense. She snapped old tone back. It makes enough sense for me. I pointed at her car. Leave. She went theatrical. Eyes wet. Hands up. Word salad. I didn't feed it. I went back inside and locked the door, then turned on a podcast and installed shelves in the spare room. When I need peace, I hang something level. The next day, I closed the last joint account and transferred my direct deposit to my own. I emailed the landlord of Jenna's favorite yoga studio that I wouldn't be renewing her prepaid classes, and I canceled the standing Friday dinner with her cousins. All without commentary, just facts. A week after the papers arrived at wherever she was, the stories got louder. I ran into a mutual acquaintance at the hardware store who said in a careful voice, I heard you guys split. She said, you know. He trailed off. I slid a box of screws onto the counter. We had an audience at Kyle's. You can ask them how it looked. He nodded, embarrassed. I figured. You figured, right, I said, paid for my screws and left him to his discomfort. Dana drove up that weekend. I told her I had no space for chaos. And she said, good. I hate chaos. We grilled chicken, fixed a wobbly chair, and took a long walk by the river while fall leaves tried to impress us. She didn't need grand gestures, just clean hours. At some point, my mother called. She came by. Mom said, voice careful, said you did something rash. What did you tell her? That I raised a man who doesn't do rash. Thanks, I said. Love you. I love you, too. She replied, steal under it. Bring your new friend for dinner when you're ready. We'll do. The final meeting was just me and Jenna at a bank office clearing the last joint details. We sat on opposite sides of a small table. The banker was polite and eager to finish. Jenna wore something modest and an expression that wanted to sell me on mercy. Are you really not going to talk to me? She asked as we waited for a printout. I'm talking, I said. Not about what you want. I was scared. She tried. I thought you were checked out. I wanted to pull you back in. You did. For a while, I jumped through hoops to prove I cared. The thing about hoops is eventually you realize you're in a circus. I'm not a performer. She looked down. So that's it. That's it. You won't even consider. No. She looked like she might cry. Then she didn't. The banker slid paper across the table. We signed. The math was simple, which is how I like my endings. She got a small share of savings that fit the math of our years and her lack of income. I kept the house and my peace. We stood and I walked her to the door out of habit, not hope. Outside, she turned. You changed the locks. You changed the bank. You changed everything. I changed my participation. That's cold. It's clean. She stared at me, then tried one more angle. You met someone at the beach. I met myself at the beach, I said. Turns out I like him. She shook her head and left. I went home, put my phone on the counter, and looked around my clean, quiet kitchen. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt done. On a Tuesday, a month later, I pulled into a driveway that wasn't mine. It belonged to a small place I'd been renovating slowly. White paint, wood floors, tools stacked where they made sense. Dana was there on the couch with a book and a sweatshirt that didn't have a brand stamped on it. I put my bag down and she looked up. How was your day? She asked. Profitable, I said, grinning, and calmer than the last year put together. Hungry, starving, we ate chicken and salad at the table without phones. Later, we sat on the porch and listened to nothing in particular. The next morning, I drove a truck that wasn't new but ran like it meant it to work. I parked next to Nate's garage with a cooler of drinks and helped him with a stubborn muffler. He looked at me after a while. You look 10 pounds lighter, he said. That's just sanity. Kay stopped by with coffee and that big laugh. Birthday clown finally left town. Somewhere far, I said. Good, he grunted. You gave her runway. She didn't pay for. Not anymore. We went back to wrenching and arguing about whether to replace or rebuild, and life felt like a thing I owned again. Every now and then, I hear through someone that Jenna tried another story. Sometimes she's the hero. Sometimes she's the one who escaped. Sometimes I'm the villain who counted pennies and attention. People nod, change the subject, and text me the highlights like bad weather reports. I don't answer. The people that mattered were at the table that night. They watched me choose the door. If you want a pretty line to end on, you came to the wrong guy. I don't deal in quotes you stitch on pillows. I deal in actions. She wanted noise. I gave her silence and a boundary she could break a nail on. She wanted a show. I closed the curtains. She wanted me to fight for her, I fought for my respect instead. The night at the restaurant, when she looked at me and performed for a room, I put my hand on the back of my chair and thought, you love testing fences. Let's see how you handle one that doesn't move. When I told her outside our own door, this isn't your house. That wasn't drama. That was the truth she'd been daring me to remember. And when my phone lit up at the coast and she finally admitted she wanted attention like oxygen, I gave her the one thing she never planned for. A complete lack of it. My decision held. It still holds. Now I wake up early, make coffee, lift heavy things, and build something that looks a lot like a life. I take Dana to the farmer's market, and we buy too many tomatoes. I grill on Sundays, argue with Kyle about football, laugh at Nate's terrible puns, and ignore Leah like spam. The house stays quiet unless I invite noise in. The bank account reads like a man with plants. The truck starts on the first try. As for Jenna, last I heard, she's bouncing between couches, posting bright photos with captions about freedom that sound like commercials for products no one wants. Her circle is smaller and meaner. People smile and back away. That's not my victory. It's just what happens when the show ends and the lights come up. There's a point where you stop trying to keep somebody happy and you start making yourself proud. Mine came in a red dress, in a restaurant, in a new lock, in a plane ticket, in a block list. It came when I realized love without respect is just performance. I don't do performance anymore. I do clean exits and better beginnings. And if you're wondering whether I'd do anything different, only one thing. I'd have kept that spare key in my pocket months earlier. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.